righty, welcome everybody. Welcome to the special edition of Live 270 brought to you by Brownsville Tech Live. And in the house tonight, we've got Jesus Rami Martinez. He is running for Cameron County Tax Assessor Collector. Mr. Martinez, welcome to our show.
Daniel, thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself and hopefully answer some questions for the public. Let's get started.
All righty. Well, to be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever interviewed somebody running for county tax assessor collector. It's usually not one of those positions that is hotly. It's not a very what you call it. It's not as hot some of the other ones that get exciting at times. So people don't like taxes and they don't like fees and stuff like that. But it's an important function of government, right? Not only at the city level and at the county level, but even at the federal level. Taxes and fees actually fund some of our basic services. And, there definitely is an important role there that you have chosen to vie for. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you've done, and what made you decide to run for this position? So, if you could kind of tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about
of
yourself.
course. Of course. Again, my name is Jesus Rami Martinez. Rami is just short for Ramiro. That's my middle name, Ramiro. But most of my family members, they call me Rami, so I go by Rami. Um, I was basically, I've lived my whole life, I can say, of 37 plus years in Cameron County. So I am a resident of the county. Uh, I was raised in the Salmos area in a small subdivision called Las Ventanas,
Okay.
right there by Salmos Elementary.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I'm the oldest of four siblings. I have two brothers and a sister. We all went basically to the same schools, if I'm not mistaken, Salmos Elementary, Besteiro Middle School, and graduated from Lopez High School.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, like I said, I'm from the Salmos area. My mom, she's from San Luis Potosí, Mexico. My main language is Spanish. I probably have an accent speaking in English, but in Spanish, I would like to say I speak better Spanish than English. Um, what else can I tell you about myself? I'm married, happily married, been married for almost 18 years. It'll be my 18th anniversary here coming up in June, at the beginning of June. Uh, my wife, well, she's the back and bone of everything that I do. She's my strongest supporter. Together we have two kids, Fernanda and Miranda. One is 14 and the other one is 9 years old. Um, I am a family man. Uh, like I said, right now being married for 18 years, not everybody can say, "Oh, I've been married for 18 years," especially not at my age. Uh, and what have I done? See, I'm not a very when it comes to social media, I don't share many of my things. If you've known me prior to this, you would probably find almost nothing on my social media. I tend to keep quiet. Uh, I tend not to be the center of attention.
Right.
I don't like it. I'm shy about it. Uh, but in this case, well, I mean, I have to come out.
Right.
But yeah, so I've done some events like we did the border cleanup at I think a few months ago where we picked up, I'm gonna say, like 11 tons of garbage from the border.
Was that the one
That
where Constable Esquivel was involved as well?
that's correct. That
Okay.
one. I was grateful enough to be part of that. Uh, very very dirty. I got to see some things that many of our constituents don't even know about, and it's right here in the back of in our backyard. Uh, I've done toy drives. See, like I mentioned earlier, I tend to keep quiet. Now that I'm running for public office, I even forget to take pictures and post them because I'm not used to it.
Right.
Um, so that's what I've done. Uh, and what the main question, and I'm thinking that everybody's is wanting to know why I decided to run. Uh, if you believe in a purpose, I think I got called to mine. Um, I am religious. I am Catholic,
Correct.
and the way this works, and this is gonna be my best explanation. I was preparing for something. I had a vision. I had a goal, and believe me, it wasn't this. My main target was something else. I was targeting a position. I was preparing myself for it, and all of a sudden things changed. It wasn't my doing. I know it was him. Um, Basically, you just get that feeling. You start either dreaming it or you get thoughts. And I don't know if you've heard of law of attraction, but I read it on a book by Napoleon Hill. If you ever have a chance, he writes pretty good books. Uh, so basically, what it is uh, whatever thoughts come to you, either on a dream or just like an idea, you're you automatically go into the subconscious of attracting similar things.
Right.
And just like that, you start meeting the correct people and you start hearing more about it. And it was something that uh, a year back I wouldn't be saying this because, like I said, this wasn't my intention. But you just get it and you have to go with it. I don't think there's anything left to a chance or random. I
Right.
think whatever happens happens for a reason, and I think this is mine. I was on another path, and uh, things led to some things led to another, and here I am now.
Well, that's great. One of the things I wanted to mention out to the viewers out there is we do have our comments open, and I see that Miss Sylvia Martinez has commented, and another Um, a viewer out there, Steph Bronstein, has also placed a comment there for you as well. So anybody who would like to have a question addressed or make a comment, you're free to do so. Obviously, if you're a troll out there that makes not a nice comment, I will definitely remove the comment. So I just wanted to warn those trolls out there about that. So one of the things that I researched about you is that you're also a businessman. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Well, along with my dad and my brother, we have an oil. It's an oil and gas service company.
Okay.
It's based off of Midland. We do mainly all the work is mainly done in Midland, but we
Okay.
do occasionally go to. Well, all of our job is requires for us to do it on site.
Okay.
So most of the work or the workload comes from Midland, Odessa area, but we do a work here in South Texas, East Texas, and we've done work in New Mexico. So
Okay.
yeah, that's correct.
Right. And your position with your company right now, you're actually the CFO. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So you come from an accounting financial background, which is a plus for the position that you're vying for.
Yeah, it's a plus. And going back to that question, why am I? I mean, why this? Why not another position? Like you said, this is not a hot position, not one that many people are willing to throw their names out there for. Uh, this is what, like I said, this is the path that I took. This is what I know how to do. So it wouldn't make sense to go run for something else when there's something that I can afford to the public.
Well, definitely, your CFO and financial background definitely, I believe, is a plus when it comes to this position. I mean, how many times do you have people running for office and they don't really have qualifications per se, you know?
That's correct.
So, you end up with, mediocre leadership at times, And so it's definitely important that, if you're running for a position that somewhat what you're talking about, right? So can you kind of briefly tell us what is the role of a county tax assessor collector? I mean, most people, right off the bat say, well, that's the place you go get the license plates and you go pay your taxes. But I think there's a lot more than that that this actual office does. So can you kind of give us a little bit of some insight into that for those that may not know?
Yeah, of course. So basically, the Cameron County tax assessor collector, or any tax assessor collector, they it's on the name. They collect taxes. They collect for the county, and they collect for all taxing entities. All taxing entities, they have a budget, or they have to set a budget for their upcoming fiscal year, and they have to come up with a rate. Uh, then from that rate, and based on property value set by the appraisal district, uh, they come up with a tax amount, and the tax office is responsible for collecting and, of course, dispersing that money back to the taxing entities. Uh, they, like you said, they also collect for motor vehicles, so either for the inspections or for renewal of the license plates, and I mean many other what's it called? Many other fees that they collect for the county.
Right. Yeah, one of the things, I'm going to flip over to another screen here for a second. And we've got our virtual iPad up on the screen right now. And let me click on the county website. And for those of you out there, the county does have a website. It's pretty cool, by the way. And if we go over to departments, right at the second to the last option is tax assessor collector. And obviously, that is the current person who right now is the collector. Uh, but basically, when it comes to different things like in the motor vehicle division, there's vehicle registration, there's title transfers. So if you bought a vehicle, you've got to get your title transfers, and then there's bonded transfers, and then there's transfers dealing when people buy, vehicles out of state, uh, you know, and there's also special license plates, for people out there that, have a disability, they can get I believe that's where they get their license plate or their little placard, to hang up on what do they call it? The rear view
On
mirror?
the yeah, in the rear view mirror.
Right. And if you're in the military, if you're a veteran, you can pick up your license plates there with your veteran designation. And, you can also add or remove liens on a vehicle as well. So it's kind of cool, what some of the things with regards to motor vehicles are. And then, of course, as you mentioned, there's property taxes. You know, uh, there's options to pay property taxes online and by mail. Obviously, if you're 65, I think there's like an exemption of some sort, and so
Well, those
forth.
exemptions come from the appraisal district, but yes, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think a lot of people get confused is who is responsible for the actual appraisal or deciding what the value is of your property. A lot of people believe that it's the county, but in essence, it's a special
It, it's the
district.
CAD, the Cameron Central Appraisal District.
Yeah. And they're not really tied to the county, right?
No, they're not tied. but I mean, they're not really affiliated, but they work very close together.
Okay.
And honestly, I think all taxing entities work very close together with the cat.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I know that earlier this year there was a lot of people doing all kinds of appeals because the property taxes were somewhat high. I didn't realize, and of course my property taxes are included in my mortgage, so I don't ever have a need to go down there to pay my taxes because I'm paying mine through my mortgage. But I know that in the past, my mom and my aunts and people who already owned their homes outright, they didn't owe anything on them. They would always get a bill in October, and then they were trying to. I think they had up to like January to pay it, but. And of course, most of them were always scrambling, right? Because ay, ¿cómo va a pagar las taxas? They're due, they're due in January and blah 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 blah.
Well, you get a 3% discount if you pay them on October, and then a two if
Yes.
you pay them in November, and then one if you pay them in December, and of
Right.
course they're due in January.
Yeah. Now I didn't realize, like I said, based on the past with some of my siblings, is that there's actually installments. I guess you can pay it up to four installments throughout the year from January till July 31st. I don't know if people are aware of that.
Yeah, you can do that as long as you go and talk to someone in the tax office. They should be able to work with you.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I wanted to ask you is we've already talked about your qualifications. You come from an accounting and financial background, so you're pretty solid there. So one of the
Well,
things,
I do have a bachelor's in applied arts and science, focusing in business administration.
okay,
Most of my family own business from my dad's side of the family.
yeah,
Uh, and I recently got a master's in public affairs. I graduated
congratulations.
with a PI Alpha Alpha honors in public administration, public policy, and public affairs program. And in addition to that, I took a 14-month course and got certified as a public manager through the state of Texas.
Ah, all right. So you definitely have had some public administrative training, uh, which is ideal.
Yes, well, in addition to that, and I can go back to the appraisal district. I used to work for the appraisal district. I have
Oh,
6 years of experience in the appraisal district. I was a department manager for three different departments
yeah,
during those 6 years, where I got to learn a whole great deal. And like I was telling you, we don't work together with a tax office, or we're not affiliated with a tax office, but we do work very close together with them.
okay,
Or I used to. I'm referring to me as I said, I'm working there. I'm no longer working for the appraisal district.
yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you think some of the biggest issues right now are with the current tax assessor collector office. What are some of the big issues that you see? I mean, I can tell you that going down there, it's always packed. It's always packed.
Well,
You got to stand in line. But beyond that, like I said, I don't have all the details of what all the
uh,
issues are.
I think one of the major issues here, and I'm not saying just on the tax office. I'm gonna speak in general. We tend to have that's down here in the valley, and I'm gonna say everywhere, but mainly here in the valley, we have uh, a lot of compadrismo, and I think that's affecting everyone because you don't put the right people in the right positions. You basically put it depends on who you know to get a position, and it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
We're closing or shutting down doors on many people that are qualified to take on certain roles, and they're having to leave Brownsville. They're having to leave the county to go out there and work for someone else because there's no jobs here, because someone else that probably is not qualified to take on that role is already sitting in that seat.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that I know that the current administration in place ran into, and I don't remember all the reasons, but I know that, there was some uh, ethical issues a few years back. In fact, the current administrator, I think, almost went to jail because of, and I can't remember what the issue was, but, what will you do to improve or bring a certain level of ethics to this office, and to, avoid the kind of conflict of interests that we've seen in the past?
I'm not really sure if the tax office it's outsourcing its HR department, but I
Hmm.
think it would be like a great starting point. Uh, I, I don't believe that HR should never be under the same administration as the office.
Right,
Uh, just for that, to avoid conflict of interest. If you want to actually push on transparency, which is another issue, uh, you need to start off with the right people in the right departments, and outsourcing HR. I think it's a great place to start.
right, right. I mean, there's definitely and this is just not this particular department, but as you are well aware of, a few years back, there was people being paid to take the civil service exam from the county in place of some of other people that were applying. So the people that were applying were getting their tests done by somebody else. There was a big brouhaha when it came to that a few years back. And by the way, I really don't even understand much of why anybody would have done that, because I've taken that exam personally myself, and I feel anybody could really pass it with their eyes closed. You don't even have to try, I think, in most cases, you know. But that's just me. I don't know, but definitely transparency is something that I believe that this office in particular has lacked,
Oh,
in the past.
active presence. It's another big one. I mean, as leader of that office, you should be present for almost uh, everything that goes on.
Correct.
Um, be on site, and I'm not sure how many offices there are, but I think there's about nine, if I'm not mistaken, eight, nine. And active presence. It's if you want to stop all of this corruption, you need to be present.
Right. Right. I mean,
There's a saying in Spanish that goes, "El que tenga tienda que la tienda," and that's precisely what it is. You need to
yeah.
be present.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been in management before, and you have to be present wherever your staff is at. And it doesn't necessarily just be corruption, but just in general, employees sometimes will tend to slack, at times. And if you're not there watching, a lot of things can go wrong. One of the
Yeah, yeah,
things
it's
that,
taxpayers' money.
yeah, it definitely
It's
is
taxpayers' money
taxpayers' money.
that's slipping away.
And that's one of the things I wanted to touch on a little bit, as you mentioned that, there's are multiple offices around the county. Now, I don't know if down on Southmost, I remember years ago, down on Southmost, the actual there was an office there in that Brownsville police office that's there in front of the HEB. And I kid you not, I remember going down there to renew my license, and the line was like a mile long. They only had one girl, and I kid you not, she was on her cell phone, okay, talking on a personal call, and the line was a mile long. People couldn't get their stuff done. And then add insult to injury, when you got to the point where you talked to her, she had an attitude. She literally shut the window and said, "It's my lunchtime. Gotta go. You gotta come back after 1." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You know, I've been here for an hour. You've been on your cell phone, and you just shut the window on me just like that."
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. Customer service. It's a big thing. Customer service. What we need to understand is that as a public servant, we are getting paid by our taxpayers, by our constituents. And it's just a slap in the face when you, like you said, you come in, there's a big line, there's one person, and that person is on their cell phone. You need to, it all comes back to qualifications. Are you putting
Right.
the right person on the right spot?
Right.
Is that person trained? Does that person receive a constant reminder that she works for the public?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things. Uh, Whenever you're interviewing, let's say I mean, as owner of your own business, you interview, you want to put the right person on the right spot. So it's the
Right.
same thing with our elected officials. You need to go out and vote for the right person, and so that that person can actually do their job and get the qualified personnel on the spot.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, I could tell you firsthand that that happened. Now, I think that office or that branch closed. And to be honest with you, because I don't want to deal with having to go downtown and putting up with the lines and the people, I found this place here on 802. I think it's called Gateway. And that's where I get my license renewal because it's easy, it's convenient, and I don't have to deal with everybody else and the bad attitudes. And that's something I think that the current administration uh, has lacked to improve is the customer service function.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So what kind of improvements do you want to bring to the department should you get elected? What are some of the things that you want to improve overall?
um, I come from the understanding that knowledge is power, and what I tend or what I want to improve, and I want to do that right away. It's set up some workshops, not only for the employees, the county employees, but also for our constituents. I think that we can save up a lot of time whenever you go out to one of these offices and you know exactly what you want to ask, because and I'm pretty sure it has happened to many of the viewers out there. They go to the office, they get a number, they sit down and wait for 45 minutes, 1 hour, and then once they've been called, they tell them, you know what, this is the wrong office, you're in the wrong office, you need to go to another one.
Oh gosh.
because because the public doesn't know exactly what they want to ask. So
Right.
we need to inform our taxpayers. That way, whenever they go to a public office, they're also prepared. That will agilize the lines and make them go quicker. You
Yeah.
don't have to sit down and try to explain what is it that you want if you already know what you want.
Right.
So yeah, workshops. That's definitely one of them. That in consequence would improve the customer service. Another thing that I really think it's probably not happened to you because you say you pay your taxes through your mortgage, but many people they write their checks to an individual whenever they're going out and paying their taxes. If
Right.
you haven't gotten your notice, it says pay your bill to, and it has that name when I think it shouldn't be. I mean, you're paying your taxes, you're paying them to the tax office. There's
Right.
no need for you to put a name of an individual. Yes, that person is a leader and that person is the one in charge of the office, but not necessarily who you're paying the taxes to.
Right. Yeah, I never understood why that was the case because you're right. It's been like that for like ever, you know, where you have to say pay to the tax assessor collector's name. And I've never understood that, you know. But definitely you're right. It definitely is something that shouldn't be the case, not just because, you know, the last thing you want, and I'm not saying it has happened because I don't know, right? But, you know, people can get the wrong idea, you know, that
Yeah, I mean it's mainly to avoid it's to avoid conflict.
right,
Uh,
right,
it gives a sense of transparency. I mean, like I said, there's no need for that name. Is You pay your taxes. You pay your taxes to the tax office,
Right.
just like everything else.
Yeah. And of course, I know that I saw on the website, where they can pay online. Now, I don't know if it, like I said, I haven't been to the county tax office, the one by the bank, what used to be the bank at one time. But, I don't even know if there's kiosks. I mean, employing new kinds of technology to kind of speed up those lines. Maybe have kiosks where people can go in and key in whatever number they key in and they can process their payments instead of having to wait online. Even dispensing, receipts or I mean, I wouldn't go so far as dispensing the little sticker, from the sticker that you put on your windshield, but
Yeah.
I mean anything is possible, but they do it at the
Well, and
airports, you know.
even an app. I mean, everything's moving now through apps. I don't think the county has an app, but why not? I mean, like I said, everything's moving towards that. Why not create an app? You
Right,
log into your app, you have it on your phone. It's easy. You get information. Uh, make it very easy to navigate.
right,
There's a lot of people that are not tech savvies, and they will need that support, and that's where these workshops are gonna come or in handy.
right. I mean, we've got an entire generation that I call now the click and swipe generation, the TikTok generation, these young kids that, they don't want to even they don't even want to go to the restaurant to order their food. They want to order it online. So, we've got to figure out a way how to deal with some of these younger folks and, what I call the click and swipe generation somehow. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I know it wasn't a question that you and I had spoken about before about conversing about, but you did mention it, and that's with regards to your service or your participation in the border cleanup. I know that immigration has been a very hot topic. It is a very hot topic right now. Uh, but can you describe what you actually did a little bit with regards to that cleanup? I know that Constable Esquivel was involved and a few others with that cleanup, but I've seen pictures. I mean, it's horrifying to see the kind of stuff that's left behind by these people that are passing through. You know.
Oh, we were stepping on layers and layers and layers of clothes. When you thought you were almost done, there was another layer and another layer. I mean, 11 tons. That accounts for about 23,000 pounds of garbage. And we found very nasty stuff, stuff that it's hard to watch.
Right.
Uh, we saw condom wrappers, even used condoms there, next to little babies' clothes. Just inhumane. A lot of needles. It was just awful.
Yeah.
For sure, a very eye awakening because not a lot of people knew about this. And like I said, this is happening right on our backyard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can tell you that, I really didn't tune into this issue a whole lot. I've been online with these shows for like almost 4 years now, and it was never a topic, to be honest with you, that I had actually addressed. I mean, I've had political leaders on, candidates on, I've had the county judge on, but it wasn't necessarily something that I focused on. I mean, primarily, our shows have been about technology, sports, SpaceX, and so forth. But I became a little bit more active during the month of December because I noticed that there was some video taken of migrants that were actually at the airport, and basically they were just sleeping like homeless people in front of the airport, stomping on the landscape that we had paid millions of dollars for, and nobody seemed to say anything until I raised the issue up, and I had the city officials and the count and the airport officials reach out to me with regards to the issue. So you're right. It's a lot of people aren't aware of that, me included. Guilty as charged, you know. And so it is really troubling that that is happening in our backyard. Obviously, as a county tax assessor collector, it's not something that you're going to deal with as in official capacity, but it is good to know that you've got somebody who's running that is aware that there's other issues going on, even if it's not in their official capacity to deal with. Because a lot of people, basically in this area is out of sight and out of mind, when it comes to this issue.
Yeah, no, and it is a big issue. I mean, it's within the county.
Right,
It has to be something that everybody should be aware of and everybody should be concerned of.
right. Absolutely. And, you know, obviously with regards to, improvements in the department, one of the things that we're seeing, uh, and we've seen lately is there's tremendous economic growth here in the city of Brownsville, especially with regards to SpaceX. And I'll be honest with you, we are a podcast that covers them 24/7, 7 days, 365 days out of the year. We have a lot of coverage with regards to that, but we know that we have 2,000 active employees down there. We know that there are more industry coming on board, bringing more people on board. There's a lot of residential construction now happening down at Boca Chica, which means that you're going to have more people show up with regards to property taxes and things like that down there. So it's going to be necessary to obviously improve some of the services, especially for some of those that are coming from California and elsewhere to relocate down here. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Well, one of the
That's
last
going to
things
increase the taxes,
that
the revenue.
definitely is going to increase the revenue, no doubt about that. The property taxes is, especially, and one of the last areas that I wanted to talk about, it's not uh, I know that there's some candidates that are not comfortable talking about this particular topic, but I think it's an important topic to ask, and that is how you mentioned that you were Catholic, and so I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit about your faith and how that has played a role in your life and how it has helped you personally and professionally.
Well, like I said, I am a Catholic. I've been a Catholic all my life. I I've been married for 18 years. I think that's been my platform in terms of my family. Uh, God first, and He'll He'll provide.
Right,
Uh, I want to say that at a professional level, I'm doing okay, and it's thanks to all the ideals and whatever my parents prepared me for. I've been a hard worker all my life, and I know that nothing comes free. You have to work hard for what you accomplish. But mainly it's because I put God first. So once you do that, everything else falls in place. I'm not gonna say I'm wealthy, but I'm not. But I know that I'm doing okay. Health is it's the main thing that God has given us, and as long as you have health, everything else you can do.
right.
So either it's always up to you. God gives you the tools, and it's up to you what you're gonna do with them.
Yep. Well, I will remind the voters and the viewers out there that one of the greatest one of the greatest writers of the New Testament was an actual tax collector and was Jesus' friend, and his name was Matthew. So even Jesus liked tax collectors and assessors in his day.
Well, I mean, you may not think about it, but it's essential. I mean, taxes have to keep coming in order
Right,
for progression. So, uh, and we need to get those things get taken care of.
right, right. So, any final thoughts in closing, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, if if people leave with something tonight, or based on this interview, I would like to just encourage everyone to go out there and vote, to do their research when it comes to selecting a candidate for any position. I'm not just talking about this one. I'm talking about any position. Do your research. See what the candidates are offering. Is it gonna be the right candidate? Don't go based on a name. Go based on what that person is offering. Uh, People are forgetting that they have the power, and they just need to enforce it. And the day that people realize that it's more of them than the leaders, everything's going to change. And I have faith that this year more people are becoming aware, and more people are going to be get registered to vote and go out there and make their voice count. So again, just make sure that you guys go out and vote. The last day to register for primaries is February 5th, and election or primaries and early voting starts on February 20th.
Okay.
So don't just go out there and vote blindly. Make sure you do your research. That's one thing that I do want to tell all of our public.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a good thing that you mentioned. The dates with regards to registration, and of course the dates for early voting as well as the election themselves. Um, Obviously, the other thing that's important is that when you do get to your voting precinct, that you specifically ask for the ballot of the party that you're voting for. So if you're going to plan to vote Republican, then you need to ask for a Republican ballot, and if you plan to vote for the Democratic side, then you need to ask for a Democratic ballot. I've seen it many times where people get there and they're handed one, and by the time you know it, they're already at the little booth and they realize they've got the wrong one, and it just becomes a hassle and a concern. So it's really important that when you go there, that you ask for a Republican ballot or a Democratic ballot, depending on how you're going to vote. So,
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. And yeah, it's very important that you do ask for it, because it's better that you ask for it and then not wait for them to just give you whatever they want to give you. Just
right,
ask whatever it is that you're gonna vote for. Uh, Ask for the ballot, for the correct ballot.
correct, correct. All righty. Well, Mr. Martinez, it was a pleasure and an honor to have you on tonight. I hope I wasn't too tough on you. I don't think I was.
No, no, yeah, not at all.
But
Thank you again, Daniel, for having me. I mean, it was a pleasure. I did get to answer some of our constituents' questions, uh, and I do want to remind them that I do have an open policy. Whatever it is that they need to ask, my number is 956-574-1269, and you can send me a text. You can call me. If I don't answer right away, I will return the call. If I don't answer the text right away, I will reply. If you want to see me, if you want to talk to me in person, we can also make that happen. I'm very available.
yeah,
And whatever questions they have, like I said, I do have experience when I used to work for the appraisal district, and we work very close with the tax office. So feel free to reach out. Again, you all, if you see this as if you were your own company owner, and you are going to hire someone, you want to ask the right questions to do the hiring process.
right.
So, and that's what I'm suggesting, that you all do that.
Well, I can tell you that I can tell everyone out there is that I can vouch for you when it comes to accessibility. You're one of the few candidates that I didn't have to pester many times to invite on the show. I wish every candidate was like you that replied back to their text messages when I sent them. So I definitely appreciate your responsiveness, and you've definitely proven that when you're duly elected, that you'll keep on doing what you're doing, because I think that's important for the viewers and the voters out there to know that, when you elect somebody, you expect they work for you and you expect them to be accessible, regardless of whether the questions are easy or not. So,
That's correct. And sometimes your candidates are not gonna have the answers to everything,
right,
but they can definitely get it for you. And
absolutely.
that is the role that we are deciding to take. So ask.
Yep. All righty, everybody. Well, that was it for today, for this special edition of Live 270. Tomorrow, we will have live coverage of the Axiom 3 crew launch to the International Space Station. That is going to happen at 1 p.m. Tomorrow. So if you all want to tune into that, that'll be great. It's going to be the first all-European crew that will be traveling to the International Space Station on a SpaceX Dragon capsule. Tomorrow, that's at 1 p.m. And of course, for those that are following the Spin Zone, which is our NFL football podcast, even though the Cowboys are not in the playoffs, we still have one Texas team out there that is still a contender, and we will have a special edition of the Spin Zone where we will cover the NFL wild card round games that will be this weekend. So once again, stay tuned for that. Go Texans, and hopefully we'll have at least one Texas team in the Super Bowl this year. That's my hope.
That's hard. I think that's every Texan hope.
Right? So, all righty, everybody. Well, that was it for Live 270. We appreciate Mr. Martinez for being on the show. And once again, Mr. Martinez, you are welcome to come back at any time, whether it's before the primary or even after the primary, if you want to come on. And it doesn't have to be necessarily about politics. You're always invited to come on board.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for having me, and
Thank you.
thank you, all the
Everybody,
public.
have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Alrighty, Mr. Martinez, I think we are officially off the air. So